Welcome back to the association. Jason Zone Fisher, Sean Little, Katie Heinel with you. That is it. The regular season is in the books, and now we have a clear playoff picture. The teams have been battling it out for 82 games, but this is your bracket. We can take a look in the East and the West. The 1 through 6 seeds are locked in place, so we know two of our matchups, and then the SoFi play-in tournament will determine the two final teams from both the East and the Western Conference who will be playing in the NBA playoffs. So as we take a look at this entire bracket, some of the matchups that we know, the SoFi play-in tournament and elsewhere, Katie and Sean, we talked a little bit both the East and Western Conference. Which of these matchups, or even I'll pose it this way, potential matchups, I don't want to get too far ahead, maybe even looking at the second round, but if we do, because you can see some of those, what excites you the most? What do you hope to see? Katie?
I'm gonna go back to a team we haven't, like at least I haven't touched on yet, which is the Sixers, and I don't want to forget about them because there's some question marks there. I think like they've also had their ups and downs. We're talking a lot about teams kind of getting their feet under them at the right time, and the Sixers have sort of had a lot of blips, but then had some real high watermarks this season. Especially, I'm thinking when Paul George came back, of course, now and beats out. But I still think of Maxey, VJ Edgecombe. We're talking about rookies, right? Like I still wonder if they can make some noise in the play-in, and I wonder how much that can kind of potentially carry them through. Against a team like the Magic, it's going to be pretty gritty. It's going to be pretty tough. But I kind of have my radar up for that matchup.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to that matchup as well. The Orlando Magic, a team that came in with high hopes and expectations, underperformed in the regular season. I would say a lot of it had to do with the health of Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, and others missing significant portions of the season. But as they're starting to get healthy, they are clearly dangerous. And the Philadelphia 76ers, you sum them up perfectly, kind of the state of this team and where they're at, and the real impact that they could have in the postseason if they're clicking at the right time. The winner of that game will face off against the Boston Celtics. Whoever loses that game, they'll get one more crack at it, taking on the winner of the Hornets and the Heat. Sean, looking at the full picture here, if you could see any matchup come to fruition or one that we already have set in place, what do you want to get into?
I have to go back to what I said at the top of the show. It's the Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks. I think that's a very, very enthralling matchup because we expected the Knicks to be a top 3 team in the East. They were able to get that done. We expected them when they made the change from Tibbs and moved on that they're now expected to be in the finals or at the very least make a repeat appearance in the Eastern Conference Finals. So the question now is, are they going to be able to do that against a team in the Atlanta Hawks that you can maybe say they've been one of the best teams in the league the last 6 weeks? So that's the most interesting matchup. All the storylines included. No Trae Young in the building. They've now moved on and they look better without him. That was the question. It's now coming to fruition. They have a lot of guys that can deal with Jalen Brunson, even though he scored 30 plus against them multiple times this year. They have a lot of different guys they could throw out and throw at Jalen Brunson late in the fourth quarter because we know they've been magic in the fourth quarter, the New York Knicks. Who's going to help out Jalen Brunson in that fourth? We saw what Josh Hart's been doing on the three-point line. Can Cat do it? I think this matchup has it all, and I think it goes 6 or 7 games.
Well, there's so many great matchups and storylines. I can't wait for the postseason to get started. We don't have to wait long. First up, the SoFi play-in tournament. That's going to begin in just a couple of days. And then there's going to be so much for all of us to talk about and high-intensity, high-stakes basketball. We are getting into the best part of the year, and we're getting into the best part of our show. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back on the association, we're going to finish the regular season strong. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the association. The 2025-26 NBA regular season is history. All 30 teams, 82 games in the books. And now we know what the postseason bracket officially looks like. We got our matchups for both the SoFi play-in tournament and all of the seedings 1 through 6 locked up in the East and the West. Sean Little, Katie Heindel, Jason Zone Fisher with you. Sean, Katie, let's take a look at the schedule because I got to start planning my life around these games that are coming up here. The first round schedule is set. Now, after the SoFi play-in tournament takes care of itself, this is what it's going to look like when the playoffs officially get underway next weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Clear your schedules. I love the first round of the playoffs because we got this. We got 4 games every day, all of these great battles and matchups, and we're going to get some upsets. As you look at this, obviously, in some of these series, there's going to be a clear favorite, and others it might be a bit more of a toss-up, but who do you think is most likely to potentially, let's say, get upset? Or let me even just pose it this way. Who's most vulnerable of losing a game 1 at home? Sean?
Losing a game 1 at home, that's tough. I would say, should I take the cop out, Katie, and take the Lakers? Is that a,
I mean, I was
is that
going
a
to
cop
take
out?
it. It's not a cop out.
I think that is obviously
That's
because we know
fair.
that they're dealing with the injuries. But I mean, I'm sincerely going back to the Hawks, man. I think they could make a lot of noise and put the Knicks under a good amount of pressure. The Knicks have shown up in the fourth quarter all year long. You don't want to have to play with fire like that in the playoffs. I think I'll go with the Atlanta Hawks. I think they could really put some pressure on the Knicks.
Okay, now, Katie, obviously we don't know all the full matchups for the slate a week from today because those will involve the 7 and 8 seeds, the play-in tournament teams that we talked about. But looking at this and what those matchups could be, who do you think might have the easiest path in the first round? A team that they're not going to have trouble advancing to round 2.
I mean, the obvious answers seem like the Celtics, the Thunder, the Pistons, Spurs, obviously. So I'm gonna not do some obvious answers. I wonder. I've maybe talked myself into this in the last 20 seconds, but I am now looking at the Lakers Houston matchup. And Sean, I don't think it's a cop out because I do actually wonder if the Rockets can kind of give themselves enough momentum. Are they able to take the Lakers, which can be a pretty volatile postseason team in a way, and I think can also really let a young team get under their skin if they don't get a handle on things early. So that's something that I do wonder if we'll see an upset there. Just putting it out there. I'm also incredibly Lakers biased, so.
I've been chatting with a lot of OKC Thunder fans, and what happened tonight, they all seem to be very happy about the fact that if they're able to take care of business in the first round, that they will not have to face the Denver Nuggets in the second round, assuming they're able to get past the Minnesota Timberwolves, that they will face off against the winner of the Lakers or the Rockets, and that potentially we could see a Denver-San Antonio second round matchup on the other side of the bracket. That could be a big deal potentially, and that all was determined by what happened in these games tonight, because having to go through both Denver and San Antonio, definitely not an easy task, although we never know how this is going to play out. You can't get too far ahead of yourself, but I do know that a lot of Thunder fans are excited about that. And if Houston is able to upset the Lakers, that would prove to be a very intriguing second round matchup with Kevin Durant going back to Oklahoma City, where it's going to be loud. There's going to be so many great storylines. I cannot wait for all of this to begin. A lot of things that will develop, new drama, new players will emerge, what teams are going to surprise and what teams are going to take care of business. Sean, as you take a look at this, is there a team based on how the bracket kind of fell out that you think has an advantage with their potential path to get to the promised land?
What you said about Oklahoma City, I think, is bang on. That's why I was clamoring for the Clippers to at least see them in the first round and give them a little trouble. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if they see the Suns or somehow they see Portland, I think it's a very, very easy first round for them. And then you get a banged up Lakers or you get a team in the Houston Rockets that's just a flat out very good matchup for you because of how you play defensively, and you can cover off on a lot of different guys and throw a lot of different guys at Reed Shepherd, who's going to be asked to do a lot and hasn't had to do that in the playoffs. And of course, Kevin Durant's going to have to deal with a lot of guys as well. I think that's a dream scenario for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and then they could gear up and because the Spurs are the big squad on their mind. So yeah, I think the Oklahoma City Thunder right now are gearing up to have a smooth road to at least the conference finals.
That was determined again tonight based on what happened with the Denver Nuggets getting a win over the San Antonio Spurs to secure the 3 seed and be on that bottom half of the bracket that you see up there on the screen right now. Katie, as you look at the Eastern Conference here, is there a team that their path, they might have an advantage if things play out the way you think it may?
I'm kind of actually torn, and I still feel like such a traitor for this, but I am kind of torn between your Cavs and maybe like a Pistons team. Do you know what I mean? But I hesitate maybe to put too much weight behind the Pistons just because this is their first time here in such a long time. And I think, I was even thinking this when you guys were chatting about OKC. Of course, they won last year, but I think a team that just kind of gets to coast, that doesn't get rattled a little bit, early on in the playoffs, that doesn't always bode well, right? You need a little bit of a stress test. So I'm curious to see where that comes from for both of our number 1 seeds in both conferences. But in terms of an easier path, maybe the Knicks, maybe the Cavs.
Yeah, and the best thing is we don't really know because we're going to see once these matchups really get going and those game ones, who's going to set the tone at home or who's going to be playing from behind and lose their home court advantage right off the bat. A lot will be determined Saturday and Sunday of next week. We're going to take a quick break, and then we've got my favorite segment of the year coming up next. So don't go anywhere. Sean Little, Katie Heinel, Jason's own Fisher will be back in seconds. Don't leave.